Thank you, Lisa, for your leadership. I'd like to now invite Liz Broderick and Joe Keefe to please join me up on stage to reflect on some of yesterday's highlights before we go into today's program. So let's begin with you, Liz. What struck you as new or something that resonates for the future?
Look, just like Lisa was saying, I came away really inspired and optimistic. Yesterday, I've been to a number of WEPs events. That I've been very fortunate to do that and also to be co-chairing with Joe, the leadership group. So I think what I took away from yesterday is that we have moved forward in quite a big way. We no longer talk so much about the business case for change. What we talk about is how we're going to do it. And so a lot of sharing about strategies. The panels were great yesterday to actually give us some new ideas. So I thought that was fantastic. I thought yesterday we also heard once again about the power of leadership. It was so fantastic. I love the part of the WEPs event where we give the leadership awards, and we just hear from people all across the world about some of the groundbreaking work they're doing. And I was struck by the fact that it still does take courageous leadership to step up on gender equality, to be a gender equality, a women's right, a WEPs champion requires deep courage, because when the rubber hits the road and you need to move on people in your organisation who are not sharing the vision, or you really need to keep on talking about why this is good for not just women but also men, those types of hard conversations. I think we saw some good champions there, individuals who had made a conscious decision to lead. That was another thing that came out of a panel. I think Tammy said, well, it's not really that hard, you just have to step up and lead. And I agree with that, but you need to draw on some of the courage. Just a couple of final points. I think we heard about the power of collaboration. When we bring together the private sector, government, civil society, we leverage our impact. And we find common ground, and when everyone owns that common ground, that's a great platform for future reform. It was fantastic to see the panel pledge, and how great that it was trending. The Huffington Post stepped up also and did some articles about it today. And I think, Lisa, you saw the reaction in the chamber when we announced the panel pledge. I mean, that would be one thing everyone in this room could do today, to go back into their organisation and say, we're stepping up on the panel pledge. And finally, I think we heard about the pivotal role of millennials in helping us shape our action for the future, and the key role that men can play and do play in stepping up beside us as equal partners. So they're just some of the things that I took away from yesterday. Thank
you, Liz. Joe, would you like to add your points to this?
Sure. First of all, I think there's something about that hall.
Yes.
That inspires you to want to do more. You know, the United Nations is a place that was created to bring people from all across the globe to promote global peace. And yesterday we were in a room with people from across the globe to promote gender equality. Correct. So there's something about that in and of itself that I think is significant. The other thing that really struck me is it seemed that everyone who spoke yesterday, from an inspiring young entrepreneur from Pakistan to the Secretary General of the United Nations himself, all referred to all of the research establishing beyond a shadow of a doubt at this point that investing in women and girls lifts whole nations, lifts global GDP, and actually results in better corporate performance, better market performance, better capital markets, better economies. That research, which a few years ago, maybe people in this room who were sort of insiders were following, now is well-known, well-established, really beyond compelling. It's overwhelming. And I think that business case is a way to reach men, frankly, because this isn't just the greatest human rights issue in the world, it is the greatest economic issue in the world. And that came across clearly yesterday. I thought it really significant that 28 stock exchanges rang their bells for gender equality. That's an indication that 28 stock exchanges are starting to understand the case for investing in women, and are starting to understand the case for promoting women in the business world, and how that's a key to unlocking, really the key to unlocking economic growth and promoting the alleviation of poverty. Just a few weeks ago, my company wrote to Mary Jo White and the Securities and Exchange Commission petitioning the Securities and Exchange Commission and those companies to require companies to report on their gender pay ratios on an annual basis. And I don't think our task is Sisyphean, to take Lisa's metaphor. I think we will prevail because I think increasingly markets understand that having that information available to them, that investors having that information available to them, investors will make wiser choices. They will invest in those companies that are promoting women because those are better companies. And they will perform better over the long run. So that economic message, what we used to call the business case, but now I think is much bigger than that, I just thought was there constantly yesterday, and I think that's a profound step forward, and it's going to really help move the movement forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really impressive at what all is at play right now. But, you know, what struck me yesterday was, you know, the content that brought home what a precarious balancing act it is all about. You know, in India, I see enormous energy. You see enormous energy across business, across women and families, and how women are stepping out of their traditional roles and yet are being held back because of societal pressures and, you know, social norms that silence them, that don't allow them to lead lives that could be free, either at the workplace or at home. They're not allowed to, you know, educate themselves and really participate even in politics. So, and I know that this distinction, or you know, this particular norm, it does not just exist in my country, but is across the globe. And you've got several countries that are battling this issue. Today's agenda really appeals to me because it brings home deep issues of exclusion, of oppressive social norms, and it diminishes their power in society compared to what men enjoy. And we can't really make global progress unless we eliminate gender-based violence and, of course, exclusion in all its forms.